For so many ethnic weddings, especially the ones in my area, we don't do assigned seating. And one of the reasons for that is because we don't collect proper RSVPs. How are you supposed to know how many people are attending your wedding if you don't collect RSVPs? In this video, we're going to talk about how you can manage your RSVPs even if your communities are not used to that. Your guest count affects so many things, like the type of venue you choose, your layout, your budget, your decor. Everything is affected by your RSVPs. So if you have a rough idea of how many people that you're going to invite for your wedding, even a number ranging from 300 to 400 people is too wide of a range. So how do we bring that number down so that it's more manageable? We're going to talk about all of that in this video today, but first, let's talk about why we don't collect RSVPs. With ethnic weddings, we typically have larger guest counts. Because we have such big families and know so many people. You really have to invite the whole community, otherwise you have to worry about cutting ties of friendships and people not talking to each other and being offended, and we don't want any of that. Of course, if you don't care about any of that, then cut your guest count, do whatever you want. But this video is for people who want to invite everyone and have a big wedding, but still want to be realistic and be able to manage throughout the planning process. Especially when we get closer to the wedding, when all your vendors are asking for final numbers. If you're still early in the planning process, you can start the process of managing your RSVPs when you first send out the invitations. One thing that our communities would have been completely offended by before COVID is adding a specific number of how many people you're inviting to the wedding. But it's a lot more acceptable to do that in a pre-COVID world. In my area, we don't have any more restrictions on anything for weddings, but people are still sending out invitations with, we have reserved 3 people for your wedding. I'll include an example here, but this is something that you can do. And if people are offended, they won't be that offended because it's not something that it's the first time they're seeing. They've seen something like this before, and they'll get over it. Of course, try to be a little bit more lenient with the families that you're closer to. So if you are close to a family and you do know more than the parents in that family, then you might want to include like 3 people instead of just 2 or maybe 4 people, depending on how close you are. It does help not to state names on there as well, because we know how our communities are, and at the end of the day, we don't know who's going to come to the wedding and who isn't. So if you put 3 people or 4 people or 5 people or 6 people, then they can choose who from their household is going to attend the wedding and who isn't, and they have that flexibility to work within the number that you gave them. Another thing you can do is try to make the RSVP process as easy as possible for your guests, because even if you put a number on the invitation, you still need to confirm with them later on how many people will actually be attending. Because I promise you, there will be some families where you put that you reserved 3 seats for them and they will bring 5 people. And it's okay as long as we're prepared. So one thing you can do is, first of all, just have completely digital invitations, which I know some people are against. So a second option is to put a link on the invitation, the paper invitation that you give out to them, where they can go online and RSVP online. Once you have that link set up and they already know that they can RSVP online because they've read it on the invitation, closer to the wedding, you can text everyone that link or email, whatever you think that they will see and respond to, and just be like, hey, we're collecting RSVPs for the wedding. Would you be able to click this link and let us know how many people will be coming? I promise you, it'll make your life so much easier when you're closer to the wedding and everything is so hectic and you don't have time to chase people down for RSVPs. If you don't want to do that, or you're past the point and you've already sent out the invitations and now you're closer to the wedding, you still need to get those numbers. So even if you do have on your invitation asking people to RSVP by a specific date and you give them a phone number or a link or an email to reach out to you at and confirm, they likely won't, because let's be real, we can't tell anyone what to do. They just won't listen and they will always push our boundaries. But you need to know your final numbers because it is going to have a huge impact on your budget. If you just give out a random number to your decorator, to your caterer, to your venue, they are going to plan for that number of people. And if you have like 50 to 100 people less coming to the wedding, then you're going to be paying for 50 to 100 more people. And that's insanely expensive. And I know this sounds like messed up, who would ever do that? But guys, this happens all the time with ethnic weddings. Or they'll give a number that's way below the guest count, and then on the day of the wedding, we're pulling chairs and tables that are not decorated, just getting places for people to sit. Food is usually prepared for more people, but they bill you after the wedding and it ends up being way more than what you budgeted for. So I can't stress enough how important it is to get these RSVPs. Okay, so now what do you do and how do you get those RSVPs? You guys are not gonna like this, but you have to pick up the phone and call everyone that you invited. This is not a one-person job. You need the groom's family and the bride's family on board, and you need multiple people to call. First of all, in most of our cultures, it's common courtesy to give your guests a call before the wedding and just check in and make sure they're still coming and give them a personal invite. So that's a plus. But on top of that, you can connect with them directly and have someone from your immediate family give these guests a call and say, hey, are you coming to our wedding and how many people will be coming? We're just trying to get our final numbers in. I promise they will completely understand. And if they can't give you an answer on the phone right away, they will give you an answer. And if they don't within the next week, you're going to have to call again. And yes, you're going to get people that never end up RSVPing. So one thing I always tell my couples is to prepare for at least 20 extra people to attend, or 2 extra tables worth. So if you're seating 8 people to a table, that would be 16 extra people, 10 people, then it would be 20. It really, really helps to just have those tables set up and ready to go. And that way, if we do have extra people coming in, they can go ahead and sit down. And since we also don't do assigned seating, if people don't feel comfortable sitting with other people, they have more options of where to sit. So not all the tables might be completely filled, but there will be people sitting at every table. I don't think we've ever had a wedding where we've had tables completely empty, but I've been to weddings where there have been completely empty tables, and it's just because the couples didn't do any RSVP tracking and expected way more people to arrive. Another thing you can do, even if you didn't post a link on your invitations for people to RSVP digitally, you can create a link closer to your wedding and text it out to everyone and say, hey, we're collecting RSVPs for our wedding. Can you please let us know how many people will be attending? You can just click on this link. And either they'll click on that link or just reply to your text. That option is so much more efficient, especially if your guest count is upwards of 500 people. You're not gonna have time to get on the phone with everyone. Alrighty, that's all I have for you today on tips to collect your RSVPs for your wedding. I hope this was helpful for you. I know how frustrating and difficult it could be to collect RSVPs for ethnic weddings when we don't do assigned seating, when we have 300 plus guests. Trust me, most of the weddings that I attend and that we plan are upwards of 500 people, sometimes closer to 1,000. So I know how it is, but it's definitely worth it to have a good idea of how many people are going to show up for your wedding, and it will save you hundreds of dollars. So make sure you try that out. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to DM me on Instagram. All of my links are posted down below, and follow me on TikTok as well. I have a lot of great tips on there too. And make sure you subscribe because we have a lot more helpful videos coming your way. Okay, bye.